Alright, since you've jumped to part 12, I'll continue the story from where we left off in parts 8 to 11, carrying forward the narrative arc, the character development, and the cinematic, emotional tone. This part will escalate the stakes, deepen the inner conflict, and set up a bridge to the finale. Part 12 The Reckoning Within. The city had grown quieter in the early hours, but inside him, everything was still electric. The calm he had built over the past months now felt fragile, as if the slightest disturbance could shatter it. Yet he knew better. He had survived storms before, and this one was different. It was not external, it was internal. He walked down the empty streets, the glow of streetlights flickering across puddles left by last night's rain. Every reflection seemed like a ghost from his past, his own doubts, misjudgments, mistakes, and betrayals staring back at him. For a long moment, he stopped, letting the cold seep into his bones. I have come so far, he thought, and yet the hardest battle is still within me. The inner challenge. The diary sat in his coat pocket like a talisman. He pulled it out and flipped through the pages, every word a testament to nights spent wrestling with himself. Every sentence a reminder of resilience, of courage, of quiet victories won in the face of misunderstanding. But the truth was simple. While he had mastered how others perceived him, he still had not fully conquered his own fear of insignificance. That lingering voice in the back of his mind whispered, "What if all of this changes nothing? What if the world still misjudges you? What if it always does?" He closed his eyes, inhaling sharply. The air was sharp, cold, alive. He thought of the moments that had brought him here. The confrontations, the interviews, the betrayals, the reconciliations. And then he whispered to himself, "Enough." Not a shout, not a demand, just a declaration, a promise to himself that no external judgment could override his inner truth. 2. The mirror of the past. He returned to a small abandoned theater on the edge of the city, a place he had avoided for years. Once, it had been the site of a career-defining moment, a chance to speak freely, only to be cut short by misunderstanding and ridicule. The theater was dusty now, empty, haunted by echoes of applause and whispers long gone. He stepped onto the stage, his reflection caught in the old, cracked mirrors lining the walls. For the first time, he allowed himself to face the man he had been, the frightened, unsure, cautious version who had let words dictate his life. He didn't flinch. "You did well," he said softly to the reflection. "But it's time to stop hiding. You are not those voices anymore." The air felt charged. It was as if the theater itself held its breath, waiting for him to speak. He began to speak aloud, not for an audience, not for anyone else, but for himself. The words poured freely. "I have been measured by numbers, judged by sentences, defined by others. But no one else can claim me. I am my own measure. I am my own witness. I am both the voice and the silence, the storm and the calm." The mirrors reflected the intensity in his eyes. The shadows seemed to retreat. And for the first time, he realized, the theater wasn't just a place of past defeat, it was the crucible of his transformation. 3. The return of Rehan. As he left the theater, the city was waking fully. He turned a corner and found a familiar figure waiting, Rehan. The timing was uncanny, but somehow expected. "You came here," Rehan said, voice low. "Even knowing what it would bring." "I had to," he replied. "I needed to finish what I started, alone." Rehan nodded, understanding. Some battles are like that. But the final victory, you never win entirely alone. You let others in, sometimes without realizing it. The two men walked together in silence, the streets stretching endlessly before them. The air smelled faintly of wet asphalt and possibilities. "I've learned something," he said finally. "The world will never fully understand me. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that I understand myself." Rehan smiled. "Then you're finally free." The final challenge. He returned home that evening, exhausted but steady. The diary lay open on the table. His pen hovered over the blank page. He knew what had to be written next. Not about misinterpretation, not about betrayal, not about recognition. This was about closure. Greater than, "To the man I once was. You survived storms you didn't choose, battles you didn't ask for, and words that could have destroyed you. But you didn't just survive, you learned. You spoke. You reclaimed. You became the voice the world could not silence. And now, you can finally rest in the knowledge that your worth is yours alone. He closed the diary and leaned back in his chair, feeling a quiet weight lift from his chest. For years, he had walked through life as a witness to his own story, letting others' interpretations dictate the course. Now, he was both author and audience, fully present, fully alive. The city outside hummed with life, indifferent yet inviting. He stepped onto his balcony, feeling the night wind on his face. Stars glittered overhead, distant and eternal. And he understood, finally, the deepest truth of all. Greater than, words may bend reality. Opinions may shape perception. But truth, true truth, resides only in the courage to live it. Part 12 ends here with inner peace, closure, and the quiet triumph of self-reclamation. If you want, I can now create part 13 to 15, where the character faces external confrontation or a climax. His relationships and public perception evolve, and the saga reaches a full cinematic, emotional, epic finale. Do you want me to continue with part 13 onward?